laboratory with computers, the desks. Here they left all the electronics. Here it's like they used to film movies. Is there still water to drink in the faucet? Another historic building with furniture inside in front of the center. Do you see that one that used to be the abandoned luxury hotel? 120 rooms still have cable, electricity, water. The rooms still have beds and Bibles inside the drawers. Everything works. It's for sale really cheap. With what you spend on a one-bedroom condo in Vancouver, you can buy the whole thing. This historic building has a balcony for parties up there and an observation deck overlooking the river. There it is. Look, when we hear the word abandoned building, we imagine an old ugly building, but look at this one, a luxury building. It used to be a hotel for royalty from the United Kingdom and France. Those were the rooms where princesses from the kingdoms of Europe once stayed. And today it's abandoned. Why is it abandoned? Is it in good condition? This is known as the Great Decline of American cities, to be specific, United States cities, as they call them, and it has happened many times before, but this time there's fear that it could spread throughout the entire country. Thanks to the tax increase, the largest in the entire history of the United States, caused by President Trump's tariffs. And that the United States won't survive his second presidency, but his followers, with unfulfilled and fragile faith in him, say it's just the opposite. Trump's tariffs are going to prevent exactly this decline and raise the whole country to a level of prosperity never seen before. And Detroit is a clear example of what they're trying to avoid with the tariffs, remember. The reason Detroit got to this point was because its auto industry left, thanks to cheaper cars from another country. And therefore, it's evidence that Trump is very wise and knows what he's doing. Which one of the two is right? Well, urban decay in the United States is a complex combination of several things. Loss of population, people moving elsewhere, economic decline, and the physical deterioration of infrastructure. Deindustrialization. When an industry moves out of the city, downtown buildings are left empty, offices are gone, factories are gone, or is it suburbanization? People move from an apartment downtown to a house in the suburbs, and downtown becomes empty, and also because of some social problems. Well, are Trump's policies going to reverse all this, bringing prosperity? Or will what happened here in Detroit, which is a ghost town, abandoned, happen again? It's going to happen all over the United States and at every level of the country. We're going to see that there are buildings like this, not hundreds but thousands throughout this entire city. We've seen countless videos of Americans closing their businesses with losses because their products come from China. And they can no longer pay the fee to bring it in, they can't sell it for a profit, and their customers no longer want to or can't pay the new price. The news report said that all of the United States will become the new Detroit, which is the city with the most urban decay in the Americas. Both Trump supporters and opponents use Detroit as evidence that they are right. Trump supporters say that the crisis caused by tariffs is temporary, and this will force companies to manufacture in the United States and not send jobs elsewhere. This will increase the country's income, raise wages, and make the United States the most competitive country in the world. They even already have a name for this phenomenon that hasn't happened yet, but they already call it the Golden Age of America. And those who oppose it say that only an inept person who doesn't understand anything about tariffs, taxes, or macroeconomics could think this. And that the decay and neglect that happened to cities like Detroit, Baltimore, or Cleveland will now happen to the whole nation. And the United States will become a third world country. Which one is it? Who is right? Hello Spanish-speaking brothers, greetings from Detroit, Michigan. The city that at one point in history was the richest, the most prosperous, the largest, and the fastest growing in all of the United States. Later, it became a ghost town, a city that started shrinking in size, losing 10% of its population every year, until it almost disappeared, and now it's trying to rise from the ashes. Just as Detroit began to lose population, some sources predict that the United States will also start to lose population. But at the same time, a timely tariff on cars coming from other countries could have saved Detroit. Trump's tariffs are expected to save the United States, but at the same time, the stock market is collapsing to historic lows. Is this evidence that Trump is going to destroy the country? But at the same time, dozens of countries announced their desire to renegotiate with the United States to avoid these tariffs. Is this a sign that Trump is the champion of champions? Look, I almost never give my opinion during or at the beginning of the video. I almost always give it at the end. I wait, but here goes a really quick opinion. Look, if an iPhone were made in the United States, it would cost $3,500. It would go from costing $1,000 made in another country to costing $3,500. So, when Trump complains that everyone is ripping off the United States, that they're taking advantage of them, and that the United States, in its eternal kindness, is financing and subsidizing other countries. Do you see this statistic? Do you see this number? An iPhone would cost $3,500. Does that mean it's the world that's subsidizing the United States? An American pays $1,000 and not $3,500. He saves $2,500 because of the subsidy given to other countries, and that subsidy comes in the form of exploitation, destruction of the planet, and low wages for workers. That exploitation doesn't impact Americans but affects others. It's the Americans who cheat the rest of the world by buying cheap products made with the sweat of poor people from other places while they live comfortably. So, does the American want to consume products at the same price if it means being exploited? Does he want to be exploited or pay 4 times more? See the importance of consuming what is made in your country and supporting your local industries. It's very easy for us to say, oh, this is much cheaper made in China, more convenient. We don't pollute our own country by producing it, let others pollute theirs. But look now, if we see so many abandoned buildings in the downtown area, how many more are there on the outskirts? In 2022, there were 70,000 abandoned buildings in the city of Detroit. 70,000. These include factories, schools, retirement homes, zoos, hospitals, and houses. Take a look. There are 31,000 abandoned houses in the city. 31,000. And in the neighborhoods, if you don't see an abandoned house, it's very common to see empty lots. These lots are empty. They're empty because of an effort made by the city council to demolish the houses that were no longer occupied. Because you're spending money to give them wiring, paving, lighting, stop signs, everything. So it was cheaper for the city to demolish the abandoned houses and leave empty lots in the neighborhoods and the city than to have them abandoned there. Not to mention the problem of squatting and drugs and everything else that comes with abandoned buildings. In fact, the hobby of urban exploration became established in Detroit. With so many abandoned places, 70,000 abandoned buildings also means abandoned mansions. Look, this mansion is one of hundreds that are abandoned, and this mansion has everything. I mean, when the richest people leave, they take everything, all their capital with them. The rich are the ones who open restaurants, who help their investor friends open factories. These people are the first to leave. The poor are the ones with fewer options, even though their jobs are already gone. In these efforts to demolish entire neighborhoods, just to avoid providing services that only cost them money and don't bring in any property tax revenue, it got to the point where a third of the city is empty. I mean, if you look at a map of Detroit, it will show you that a third of the entire city area is empty. Now, if you count all the houses there, its vacancy rate is 21%. But this is only those that are still trying to be rented out. There are some that are abandoned and the owner has already given up trying to find a tenant. In fact, most of what used to be their main attractions are abandoned, unsold, or have been remodeled, or have been changed into something else, not abandoned. Let's look at Michigan Central Station. This used to be one of the most beautiful train stations in the world. The Packard automotive plant was abandoned. This was the epicenter of the pride of American-made cars. The luxury Lee Plaza Hotel was abandoned. These were hotels, condominiums, and luxury apartments that were left behind. Religion too. St. Agnes Church. This church was also one of the most majestic and representative buildings of Christianity in the United States. The Fisher Body Plant, where car bodies were made, was also abandoned. This was the place where proud American cars were produced. This library, Detroit Public School Book Deposit, was the one that distributed books to the entire abandoned educational system. And this ballroom, the Grand Ballroom, Led Zeppelin played here. It was the largest concert venue, now abandoned. Imagine this in your city. Imagine you're from Mexico City. The Torre Latinoamericana, the Palacio de Bellas Artes, all the buildings in the Zócalo abandoned, the Sumaya Museum, the Palacio de los Deportes, the Museum of Anthropology, all abandoned, empty. Detroit is just like that. Now, can you imagine this on a national level? What if this spreads across the whole United States? It would be the end. It would be the end of the United States economy, the end of its military dominance, the end of the Canadian economy, and the end of the Mexican economy, at least temporarily. This is to show you that we can't emphasize enough the warning about the danger of destructive policies in a city. It seems unbelievable that a type of government or a political mindset can destroy a country and a city, but look, here is the proof. This used to be one of the busiest pedestrian streets in the States. There used to be food vendors, live music, bars. People who were born and raised here tell me that they used to come with their parents holding their hands, and there were ice creams and clowns. And nowadays, look. The main business district in Detroit, and here, look, the door is closed and for sale, and here's the next one. This one is already being auctioned off. The whole building, all the way over there. Look, it's this entire street, and see how close we are. Look, here is Detroit's business district, the General Motors Center. I walked another block, and here's another one, that one over there, abandoned. Let's find out how much it costs, how much they're asking for it. The city of Detroit has some of the lowest house prices. At auctions, you can find them for $1,000 or less. A house that needs some repairs but isn't too run down, you can find for less than $5,000. And there are also the well-known $1 houses which we've already seen. In this video, I showed you how it's just a hook so that they can transfer the debt that house has to you, along with the responsibility of renovating it and making it livable. But if you want a house that's already livable, that's decent, one you can move into. There are some for as little as $50,000. It's a very low price, and I don't mean to be rude. But deceiving people so they'll buy your house because otherwise you can't sell it, or slashing the prices to get rid of the properties? That's not something that happens in a developed country, that happens in third world countries, in developing countries. A world power, a leading economy, shouldn't have to beg people to buy houses there. At its peak in 1950, the city of Detroit reached a population of 2 million. 2 million? And then the population plummeted to 700,000. From 2 million down to 700,000. It's like having 20 tenants in a building and dropping down to 7. That's more than 2/3, causing a chain reaction, a vicious cycle. When the auto manufacturing companies leave, the city loses the income they paid in taxes, then the workers leave, and the city loses the taxes they paid as well, in order to keep maintaining basic services. They have to raise taxes, which causes more people to leave, and if they don't raise taxes, the quality of services goes down, which also makes more people leave. Then comes the demographic transition. Euro-Americans move out of the city, and African Americans move into the city, which is why today Detroit is a predominantly African American city. If you read the official statistics, they say that 74% are black people, as they are affectionately but incorrectly called. But that's only because some houses are registered under the name of a white person. Now let's keep walking. Here, it's almost 95% African Americans, and this also influenced the general drop in prices in the cities. In the United States, whether people accept it or not, the fact is that the more African Americans there are in a neighborhood, the less it's worth. Unless they're NBA or National Football League stars or houses like Beyonce's. But generally, a neighborhood that's mostly African American, the houses are worth less than in a neighborhood that's mostly Anglo. That's how it is. I mean, it's sad, it's hard to accept. Some white people get offended, but the numbers are there, the statistics are there. Is the average white person willing to pay less for a house if their neighbor is black? Just like that, now let's reflect on this ourselves. How would you feel if your neighbor wanted to pay less because you live next to their house? I mean, let's say you're the only Mexican in the neighborhood, and the American says, well, yeah, I'll pay the price, but not next to him. And then more Mexicans move in, and the American says, now my house is worth less because Mexicans live here. How would you feel knowing that the way you exist as a human being devalues a property? It would be extremely dehumanizing, sad, unfair, wrong, unethical, racist, all of that. Well, those Anglo-Saxons who say my nation was founded on God, those who say Christianity should be the official religion of the United States. Christ, that person who said love your neighbor as yourself, that God who said all human beings are made in my image. Well, they themselves created a market in which people of African descent devalue their properties. I'm going to walk, not drive, to show you that. Just a few blocks from the heart of downtown, the area known as the Downtown Business District in American cities, there are already empty lots and entire neighborhoods of abandoned buildings. Guys, the rain is getting really heavy, the water is getting really strong. I'm going to hold the phone like this, from my point of view, so my phone doesn't get wet. If I use the selfie stick, it gets wet and water covers the lens, making it hard to see clearly.
Once we cross this avenue, this highway over there, it's going to be much worse.
And that's how the debate is right now. There are those who say, my Redeemer God. Trump is going to save the United States in the way that the Democrats couldn't save Detroit. And there are those who say Trump is going to destroy the country just like they destroyed Detroit and Detroit. There's the fact that he doesn't even care about the debate because he has enough problems. Like, for example, the bankruptcy in 2008. When the city of Detroit declared this bankruptcy saying we can't take it anymore, it was the first city with more than 500,000 inhabitants, the first big city in the United States in history to say we're bankrupt. We don't have enough for basic services. This really worried retired police officers, teachers, firefighters, and how are they going to pay me? Because if the city, which is the one that pays your pension, declares bankruptcy, it means they don't owe you anymore. All their debts are forgiven. Look, I walked 2 blocks in downtown Detroit, right where it was. Here you can already see the first abandoned building in a major city in North America, the United States or Canada. Those lots are worth millions. They can't be abandoned. But we're on the outskirts of the subway, an empty lot right in the middle of downtown that's within walking distance from a subway station.
The churches still operate. I don't know how often they have their mass or service, and I don't know how many people come here. Detroit, look, United States, Detroit, look.
And over there is Canada, the city of Windsor, Ontario. It's just that right now it's really cloudy. You can't see the Canadian flag they have on a big pole. Look, I'm going to show you how it looks on a clear day. You can see a very clear difference between the border cities of the United States and Canada and the border cities between Mexico and the United States. And since we've already included some pretty sad statistics throughout the video, let's include a few more. Look at this chart that shows us the top 15 most dangerous cities in the world. It's from 2022, but it still gives us an idea. Look at how many are from Mexico. Tijuana, number 1. Acapulco, Ciudad Victoria, Ciudad Juárez, Irapuato, Cancún. How many of these are border cities? Well, Tijuana, Ciudad Victoria, and Ciudad Juárez. This gives us an idea that the border cities between Mexico and the United States are dangerous. They are basically people waiting to cross into the United States, whether undocumented or not, and that's where organized crime takes advantage of the situation. And now the cities on the border between Canada and the United States, well, they're boring. Just boring cities with industry, but that's it. I prefer to be bored than to feel unsafe. And yes, this list is from a few years ago. Some cities are no longer on it, but others have been added. And they're Mexican, like the city of Colima, and cities in Guanajuato. Well, they've made it onto this list. You get the point. The border cities between Mexico and the United States are not pleasant places. And they should be, because we're nations that depend on each other and we should have a good relationship like mature adults. So the coolest cities in the world should be on the border between the United States and Mexico, a combination of the best of both worlds. Can the city of Detroit rise from the ashes? Well, the first step was to lower the crime rate, and the city isn't exactly super safe yet, but the crime rate did go down. After that, they stimulated the economy, which they also did, and some companies came back. In fact, the company General Motors continues to produce cars right here in the city of Detroit. So they are kind of coming back, reviving, but not to the level they had before. Obviously, they're not going to reach that peak of being the 4th or 5th largest and most important city in the United States, but at the very least, a livable city. They can get to be that now, here. In my opinion, the city of Detroit is nice, it has its own charm, and because of its proximity to the ports coming from Europe, it's good. Detroit can definitely become a world-class city, first world, one of the best in the country. But they have to make a lot of crucial changes in their policies and laws. They have to combine everything that works. Just like there are Republican candidates who propose good things, there are also Democratic candidates who propose good things. They don't have to go all the way to one side or the other, but just take what works for this city and leave partisanship behind. Here, the residents and governors have to leave behind that mentality of, I'm from the Republican Party and I'm from the Democratic Party. They have to move past that mentality and focus on what works. And the truth is that both parties have policies that work, and both have policies that have negative effects. And what will happen to the whole United States? The entire country? Is Trump going to ruin the country with his tariffs and other policies? Or is he going to lead it into a new golden age of America? The truth is, I don't know, we don't know. I'm reading numbers, I interpret them, I read reports from economists, I read reports from investors, and I pass the information along to you. Whether you're a Trump supporter or not, that's up to you. Whether you're going to support Trump's policies or not, choose whichever you like. I'm not telling you what to do. We all have the right to choose and the right to express who we choose. Long live freedom of expression. I'm going to walk north because Canada is to the north. I'm going to cross by walking. And once I'm in Canada, it's like I'm in my second home. And now I'll start editing. That's my report. Greetings from Detroit and see you next time.